All right, sports fans, we're back. It's Wednesday. It's late Wednesday, actually. Usually we like to come on at 5. Oh, actually, it's Thursday. It's been a long week already. We wanted to come on Wednesday at 5, unable to due to some circumstances. So we rescheduled for today, but I had something I had to do. I had to live stream a game. So we're coming to you. It's late in the evening, but it'll be ready to go tomorrow. We'll upload it to our YouTube channel. So this is going to be GT Sports Unlimited UFC episode number 1. And with me, I have my partner. He's the co-host, right? Val. He's the guy that talks UFC. So Val, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we could meet up this week. We didn't want to go another week without having to meet up. We're kind of falling behind a little bit, so we don't want to do that anymore. So we're going to break down, of course, the next main event for UFC, which is set for this month, October 30th. And then I'm being told that there's 6 cards that you will break down. It's on the main event, so Val's going to break each one down. He's going to work from the bottom up to the main event. And then, of course, we're going to talk. I think we've got maybe some Amanda Nunes, some Conor McGregor. I heard something. I saw something, Val, on Conor McGregor, something about an assault. So definitely want to see what's going on with him. He's always in the news. Amanda Nunes, and anything else that you've got that you can update us on. But first and foremost, we definitely want to bring up the fight that's going to take place October 30th. It's the main event, UFC main event 267. And of course, let's start breaking down those fights. You can work your way from the bottom up to the main event. So I'll throw it over to you and do your thing.
Yeah, hey guys, what's going on? So pretty much what goes down at UFC events when pay-per-views start, it's usually a 5 card fight, but this event is going to be a little bit special. It's pretty much just a Halloween treat. These guys are giving us. I was trying to see the reasons why, but this is really all that they said. For ESPN Plus subscribers, you get this fight for free. So perfect Halloween treat, very great. And guess what? We're about to get started. This is a 6-fight card. But first we got Magomed Ankalaev. This is gonna be a light heavyweight fight, so 205 pounds. This guy's gonna come in at 17 wins. He's got 5 losses. He's got 0 draws. I'm sorry. He's got 15 wins and 2. He's got 1 loss. No draws. He's age 29. This fight, I really think that this close on the rankings because Ankalaev, he's number 7 on the rankings, and Volkan Ozdemir, who's his opponent, he's number 8. So they're pretty close together. Ankalaev is, of course, going to be fighting down, but this isn't too much bad for him. But still, he shouldn't want to lose this fight because depending on how the rankings work, he could go back more. So this, so basically, he's from Russia, and I mean, he's an excellent striker. He seems to always find a home for his big shots. And you know what? I mean, with most of his UFC wins, this guy is most of his wins are TKOs, and he's on a 6-fight win streak right now. I mean, this guy hasn't lost since 2018. He was defeated by Paul Craig by submission, and this loss has certainly lit a fire under his butt as he has since been on a tear. I mean, this guy can wear down his opponent. He can put on a heavy pace if he needs to, but Muhammad has tremendous knockout power. I mean, he can end the fight with 1 shot if he can land. Ankalaev was also a light heavyweight champion under a different promotion called the World Fighting Championship, ACAD. So it makes sense that he's been doing so well in the UFC. I mean, his experience, his wittiness, I mean, this is what got him to land this 6-fight win streak. I mean, this is incredibly hard to do. There's no doubt Muhammad would try to put together some shots and we'll be looking for the KO. Now, moving on to his opponent, Volkan Ozdemir, he's from Freiburg, Switzerland. I mean, and this guy's record, his record is 17 wins, 5 losses. That was the mistake from earlier. And he has an experience too. I mean, this guy, he's a kickboxer. So, he's probably going to want to keep it standing. He's been in the UFC since 2017. I mean, and this guy, he also has a ton of experience. I mean, he fought in Bellator in the past. So some different organizations here. This is good. This guy really has a level of competition. And he's faced so many good people. This guy, he's been in there with Daniel Cormier. He's been in there with Dominique Reyes. He's been in there with Alexander Rayshik, Anthony Smith. These people I just named, these are top talent in the UFC. I mean, Volkov, he says, hey, I know what I'm in for. I know that I signed up to fight all these guys. And he says that he didn't take the safe road. He says he didn't take the easy road. What he means by that is some fighters, they can take the easy road. They try to like maybe they might refuse a fight and try to get an easier route or a faster route to the title, a safe route. He's saying he doesn't think about any of that. That's not his strategy. His strategy is just to fight, and he fights whoever they put in front of him. And he says, no safe routes for this guy. That, to me, is dangerous. That's a very dangerous opponent. I mean, I truly believe that Volkan is definitely going to have to beat Muhammad Gomez. Said he's so strong, he's got good punching power, he's good, precise, and not only that, but he has good wrestling, and he's good at incorporating his strikes and his takedowns. And Magomed loves to grab control of the hips and take people down, drag them down, put on the ground and pound, impose his will, score points. And if he can't do it standing up, he will drag you down and do it on the ground. With that being said, Volkan is going to have to be aware of this and know, hey, he's going to have to use his good footwork, good mobility. He's going to not to try to be predictable. If he's going to circle out, make sure to not get caught and not to go to the same angles. He's got to do some level changes because Magomed's really going to, I think, probably want to take him down if he can't find a target very early on. So I really do think that this one is going to be a good fight. Magomed, he won't have to land too much, like Magomed's really strong. I feel like with each hit, if he doesn't knock him out, it's going to wear and tear on him. So Volkan is going to have to really think about this in this fight. But I know that he's a good striker too. He's got good precision. He's got good footwork, good head movement. He's usually not a born fighter. You see this guy, he's pretty good. I think this is a good fight to watch. There's the second fight. I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Did you have anything to say about that one before the second one?
No, you're good.
That was
go
the
ahead.
first fight.
Okay.
Yeah, the second fight. Now this is gonna be a welterweight fight. It's gonna be Li Jingliang. He's from China, Chinese descent, and then Kazmat Chaimov. So Jingliang is going to be 18-6, not bad. And then Chaimov is actually undefeated, and he has been through an absolute tear lately. He's really been doing good. We're going to get to him right now. I'm going to break down Jingliang first. I think that's how it is, Jingliang. So he's going to be hailing from Tenex Prefecture, China. I hope I'm saying that correctly. He is a kickboxer, and he does have a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He likes to strike and TKO people if he can. This guy, he won 2 out of his last 3 fights. In 2019, Jingliang, he fought Zaleski Dos Santos, and he won by TKO in the 3rd round. Last year in 2020, he was defeated via unanimous decision, but that was from a veteran, Neil Magny. This guy is, this guy's a legend too. This guy's been around forever, so we kind of let him slide there on that loss, right? So early this past January, he defeated Santiago Ponzinibbio via 1st round TKO. So, I mean, this guy does like to strike. Jingliang, he's very well rounded. This is a guy that, he will keep it on the feet if he can, but when he needs to grapple, he does have the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So I think that this makes for a good fight because Cosmo, his opponent, loves to strike, but also he's a good, wrestler, and he tries to take this fight to the ground. So Jingliang is no stranger to grappling, and he should be able to thwart the tactics of Cosmo if Cosmo decides, hey, I'm not going to stand up, I'm going to go to the ground. So moving over to Cosmo now, this guy has a lot of steam. He's this good up-and-coming prospect. Pretty much, he's from Chinekna, Russia. These names are hard to pronounce. He is a blue belt in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so not as good as the black, but he still does have some grappling experience there. Should he find himself in some grappling situations, he should be able to defend himself and maybe put on some offense too if Jingliang ends up getting on top of him. But I do know that Cosmo Chaev, his training camp, they do like to wrestle a lot, and they almost strategize and focus their fight game around heavy grappling. So they will drop down, take the shot, find ways to get inside their opponent and find ways to trip them up, sweep them, and get them to the ground and establish good positional dominance and score some points that way. If things on the feet aren't working out, most of the time, these guys, they knock people out in the first round. Cosmo Chiav, his last fight, he had knocked out Jared Mershire, and this is hard name to pronounce. Jared Merchancher, and he knocked him out in the first round, and that guy's a good fighter too. So I really do think that Cosmo is going to be a tough opponent for Jingliang. I mean, this is going to be a welterweight fight. These guys fight fast. These guys move fast. They're very dominant fighter. Things look really good for Cosmo Chiav right now. If I really do believe that if Cosmo doesn't find a home for his hands early on, he will try to take it to the ground. So Jingliang needs to work. Take down defense. If not, he'll try to take him down. I doubt it though. Usually Jingliang, he's gonna most of the time he'll probably want to keep it standing up. So I mean, but this fight is gonna be another one to look at for sure. Did you have anything to say about that one? Or
no? And that's the second fight on the card, right? That night, it's gonna be we're going by the way the card's gonna be the second fight. Okay,
that's
all
the
right.
second fight.
Okay, other card. Okay, no, we can go to the next one.
Yeah, the next one's gonna be a heavyweight fight. And I love talking about heavyweights because these guys are heavy hitters. We're gonna be talking about Alexander Volkov versus Marcin Tybura. Alexander Volkov, he is number 5 in the in the heavyweight rankings. So he's really close to the title. Usually when you're 5 all the way up to 1, it's pretty much not a game of, oh, maybe I shouldn't take this fight. Maybe I should. No. If you're in the top 5, you should already do it. Already take the call, take the fight. You're already in there. You know what I'm saying? So this is pretty. So right now, I feel like Marcin Tybura, number 9. This is a good fight for him because he can get into the top 5 now. So Volkov, of course, gonna have a little bit more to lose. But I mean, this is gonna be a great one. Alexander Volkov coming in, 33 wins, 9 losses, 0 draws. We got Marcin Tybura. He's gonna be coming in, 22 wins. 6 losses, 0 draws. He is from Poland, and Volkov, he's going to be from Moscow, Russia, actually. So we got ourselves a heavyweight matchup. This one is going to be good. I can say someone's most likely going to get knocked out in this fight. I'm going to go ahead and break down some things. Volkov, he's been in the UFC since 2016. We got him, or like I said before, he coming in number 5 in the rank. He'll be fighting down to protect his spot. So he is going to have to already have the willpower and know, hey, if I plan to hope to get another shot at the title, I have to do this fight. Because if he can win this fight, especially in devastating fashion, more than likely he can move up again. Or if by some freak accident, if the second guy can't take the fight, the third, the fourth, well, he might get a call too about the title. So he's going to have some good motivation too, to win Volkov, even though he's fighting down. But, Volkov, he's coming off of 2 wins out of his last 3 fights. We're going to go ahead and lead up to this moment right now. October 24th, 2020, Volkov fought Walt Harris, who he defeated in round 2 by TKO. February 6th, 2021, he fought Alistair Overeem, who was also a very great fighter. And he defeated him by TKO in the second round. So June of this year, he took on Cyril Gane, who is now the interim heavyweight champion. So Volkov loses this fight by decision. Again, let him slide. Cyril Gane went on to go become an interim championship. So we're going to let him slide on that one. So he was outpointed in strikes in that fight. So Volkov, I'm gonna tell you about him. He hits hard and he's a very durable striker. I mean, he can take a lot of punishment. I've seen him get hit a lot of times and he's still somehow standing. He has excellent reach. He's very long, and I know that he's gonna use this in his fights because Volkov, this helps him establish his reach, his long range that he has. I mean, when Tybura wants to come down the middle and try to push the pace and meet him with strikes, possibly counters to try to keep, maybe Volkov will try to counter him. If Tybura can try to come down the middle, Volkov will say, hey, hit him. Not only will he be scoring points on Tybura, but he's also keeping him at a distance. He's keeping him at bay at the same time. So this is probably what he's gonna need to do. Volkov does have a history of getting too close to his opponents when he believes that he's almost won, and he risks getting tagged in the pocket. I've seen it happen before. Marcin Tybura could maybe be losing the fight, and if Volkov somehow is outscoring him, Volkov takes a high risk of getting too close, getting too overconfident. So that's one thing that I hope in his game plan that he's learned before and said, hey, this has already happened before. I'm not going to get too overconfident. And he's going to stick to the game plan. If it's there, it's there. The fighters say they're going to put on their game plan, implement their game plan. And if it's there, the knockout's there, it's there. If the submission's there, but if not, you don't want to hurt yourself or lose by doing risky stuff like that, I've seen Volkov in fights where he was winning, outscoring guys, but he just gets a little close. But with that being said, good things about Volkov. Very powerful, very long reach. I think he's going to be good. I want to move over to Marcin Tybura. This guy's been in the UFC since 2016 as well. So he's now on a 5-fight win streak. So it's going to be tough for Volkov. This guy over here on a 5-fight win streak. His last 3 fights were against Walt Harris. Volkov had also fought Walt Harris. And he fought Greg Hardy and Ben Rothwell. These are all great fighters. Tybura, he has some decisions before. He's got some decisions, but he usually likes to TKO or knock out his opponent. So I expect him to do no less. When Volkov meets him in the octagon, Tybura will stare Volkov down, try to get Volkov to open up a bit so he can find a target for his strikes. Volkov needs to keep his distance, long reach. So Tybura needs to find a way inside the pocket of Volkov to deliver some strikes, score points. Tybura might need to attempt to leave the dance. That I think I see Tybura maybe being more aggressive, getting that octagon control, trying to maybe hit first, stuff like that. And probably Volkov might try to get try to do counters. I do see Tybura pressing forward. I want to say he's a very powerful striker. I really do think that if he finds a home for his strikes, it won't take long for guys to go down, because if you see his history, this is what we've known from him. He's a powerhouse, and it doesn't take much for him to put you down. Keys to victory right here. I'm going to say Volkov, he's going to have to circle out, look for techniques, look for technical strikes. Do not engage head on. You don't want to stand in the pocket too much. He's going to want to utilize his reach advantage, establish the reach as early as possible to keep Tybura at bay if he decides to go up that middle, so that way he will also score points, and then Tybura won't get into the pocket. So, like as I've said before, another tactic, stay off the fence. Volkov should be keeping this fight in the middle and just probably circle out. Because if Tybura imposes his will and presses him forward, if Volkov is back in the fence, he's not going to have nowhere to go. He's not going to have no angles. Tybura will get his rhythm, get his timings, and try to look for shots. And he might not just headhunt. He'll look for body shots. He'll make Volkov put his hands down whenever Volkov is on the fence. So Volkov is going to have to stay away from the fence for Volkov. Tybura, keys to victory. He's going to have to cut off Volkov. Volkov's probably going to be doing the circling, doing the countering if Tybura is going to be implementing his will. So if he's going to lead the dance, he's going to not allow Volkov to reset himself. When Volkov is circling, Tybura needs to cut him off and maybe make him turn into a different direction that he wasn't planning to before, because there could be a window of opportunity to strike when he does this strategy. If Volkov is forced into a different path, we could open up some shots here. And by cutting off Volkov, it will also close the distance too, like we've always been saying. Two things go hand in hand. This is what Tybura needs. With Volkov being so long, Tybura needs to find a way in the pocket quick. Never allow Volkov to get a sense of established range. Never stay right in front of Volkov. Never let Volkov get to use those long arms, use those long those long legs. Next tip for him, I would say explosive shots. I mean, Tybura has tremendous power, so he could get past Volkov's defense. If he can, it will only be a matter of time if he can land some precise shots to probably get somebody down. So I don't think if he can find a way in the pocket, if he can find a way to close the distance, get closer to Volkov, I think he can find something to land, which will probably lead to a big successful shot to win the fight. And if he doesn't land, then as long as he's in the pocket and hitting them with real good shots, I do think that he's powerful enough that Volkov could slow down. So Tybura needs to shut down that long reach, turn off Volkov's offense, and that's pretty much, you know, his keys to win there. And that's the third fight. So we're gonna be going on to the fourth one. If you want to say anything about that one, or
No, I don't really know these fighters. I'm just listening to what you're saying so I can get familiarized when I read up on these guys. But no, you can go to the fourth one.
Yeah. Yeah, the fourth one, we're gonna do it's a lightweight fight. Islam Makhachev, he's gonna be coming 20 wins, 1 loss, very good. And this guy's camp is amazing. You know, these guys, they win all the time. His friends and his teams and his cousins and brother, they all win. They're all winners. This guy, okay. Makhachev, very, very heavy camp, heavy duty camp. He's number 5 in the lightweight ranking, so he's very close to the title. That's what we're all gunning for. You're gonna hear me talk about this a lot. Everybody's gunning for this title. Number 6, Dan Hooker, his opponent. There's some things I want to talk about with Dan Hooker, but first, let me tell you his his record. 21 wins, 10 losses for MMA, and then 11 wins, 6 losses for UFC. And for Makhachev, it was 9-1 in UFC. So this guy, very good, very, very good powerhouse. We're going to talk about right before I really get into these guys, there is something I wanted to bring up because I like to talk about the history. And this one, I do want to dive into this because it definitely kind of sets the tone for the fight too. So, but actually, Rafael Dos Santos, he's another fighter on the UFC. He was actually supposed to fight Makhachev, but at UFC, it was at UFC 254 in October of 2020, but Anos caught COVID, so their match was rescheduled, you see. And in November, Makhachev, they were supposed to be rescheduled again for that November, but then Makhachev caught a staph infection, so they were like, oh, you know, we got to definitely shut down the fight. The fight's scrapped, so we ain't gonna do that fight. So now here we are in 2021, in October, and so now they're gonna fight again. This is great because now Dos Anjos, but guess what? Dos Anjos, he got cut again. They were gonna fight again, but Dos Anjos underwent a knee surgery. So now guess what? We have UFC 267 coming up. Everybody's running around going crazy saying this guy doesn't have an opponent. So that's where I was trying to lead to here. He doesn't have an opponent. Now Dan Hooker comes to the rescue. You know, and Hooker took this spot right away when the UFC called him, you know. And I think this is great because I want to start off with Dan. I'll start off with Dan Hooker first. So this is going to kind of transition into this breakdown. So Hooker, he's from Auckland, New Zealand. We got a New Zealand fighter here. You know, he's been staying in the US since his last fight against Nasrat Haqparast at UFC 266. So this was just recently. I mean, and it only took a week for UFC to call him and offer him the position. And he said, hey, I'm gonna jump all over this. So much respect to Dan Hooker. Much respect to Dan Hooker. Now I'm gonna talk about Islam Makhachev real fast. Makhachev, he's a heavy wrestler. He loves to submit his opponents. You know, Makhachev has wins over black belt dudes. He's got wins over black belt jiu-jitsu specialists. So, I mean, there's no doubt that Makhachev will try to get Hooker to the ground, maybe at some point, you know. I mean, Hooker will have to try to have a great takedown defense, although Makhachev does have 1 TKO in the UFC. It was 3 years ago. But, so, I mean, we know he can strike, and I would imagine that Hooker has the best chance on the feet for sure. Makhachev will have the strength advantage. So if he could manage to take Hooker down, and then Hooker might be in trouble. You know, he's not going to want to be with a guy as strong and as skilled as Makhachev on top of him. He's not going to want a guy with this much talent and this much heavy. He's so heavy on top of him. So the weight of Makhachev would slow Hooker down, and it'd slow his pace down, so it would ruin his game, you see? So, I mean, Hooker, I mean, if cannot get taken down, he just can't. You know, if he wants the best chances to win here, I would say do some good takedown defense, definitely be a good mobility, stay on your feet. His best chances, definitely keep it onto the feet and have precise technical strikes. Wear Makhachev little by little, evade his strikes, takedown attempts. Makhachev will try to get Hooker down and get the submission, but you know, Makhachev can strike too, but I think on the feet, Hooker has the best chance on the feet for sure. That one's gonna be pretty good. I expect that one to be a fast-paced fight. I expect that one to be quick. I would probably say it's safe to say that this might be a one-rounder because
Really?
yeah, I think so because these guys are explosive. Dan Hooker has a lot to prove. He was knocked out by Michael Chandler, and that was his first fight in the UFC. He knocked him out. And I mean that Dan didn't like that, so he's coming back, and he did come back, and he did get a win at UFC 266. He won by decision. So now that he got a W, he's like, hey, I'm ready to prove myself. I want to do more. He doesn't want to think about that loss. He's trying to get closer. So the UFC says, hey, we got to fight. There's no opponent now. Dos Anjos, his nurse surgery they didn't clear him or whatever, and now. So Dan Hooker, he jumped all over it. So he's getting a lot of praise for that right now. So with him, it's almost like a no lose situation, because if he wins, hey, he wins, he wins, and he's that much closer to getting the title. But if he loses, he was just that guy.
Right.
Might still lose the placement if he's fighting down, but I mean his. Which he's not. He's fighting 6. So if he loses, he should still be 6. But that's not always the case because like I said, with the rankings, it's possible for you to fight somebody just one rank below you and then lose, and then you might jump lower rank. It's anything's possible. So I mean, so I always just keep that in mind. There's so many factors that go into the way that they do the rankings. It's complex. So we just kind of just take it at a time when we get to a situation like that. So. But that one's going to be a good fight.
Sounds like it is.
For sure. And so the 5th fight is going to be
this is the co-main event. Okay.
Because it normally would be this would be the main event. But yeah, so this one I have a lot of things to say about this one. I have a little bit of history, not quite as long as before, but it's kind of the same circumstance. But I want to go ahead and introduce the fighters real quick. Piontyan, there is a P there in English, but his name, the way that you pronounce it, it's like Piotr. So if you saw it like on paper, it looks like Peter, and that's what I used to call him. But everybody that I've seen, they say it's Piontyan. So he's Piontyan. He's 15 wins in MMA, 2 losses, 7 wins in UFC, one loss. So I mean, this guy is doing really good in UFC for right now. He's number 1 in the bantamweight rankings. So I mean, we already know what happened to him. He was fighting for the bantamweight title. He was fighting Aljamain Sterling, and he was winning that fight, but he got some way in the fight, he hit an illegal knee, and we all know how that went. Sterling got because I'm gonna bring Sterling up later, but Sterling ended up getting the title. But now Piontyan, he's gonna want to rematch Sterling. But he's fighting right now. He's fighting Corey Sandhagen, and Corey Sandhagen's rank number 3, so he's just behind him. His record's 14-3 MMA, and he's gonna be 7-2 on UFC, so not bad at all. And this fight is gonna be pretty much for the interim bantamweight title. So let me say why that is. So the interim title belt is on the line. So whoever wins out of these guys, basically, probably most likely will face Sterling. Sterling was going to fight this fight. He was actually going to fight Jan, but something happened. I'm pretty sure it was a neck surgery. He said the medical doctors from UFC didn't clear Sterling. So guess what? They knocked him out. And they said, hey, okay, we'll just have an interim title fight. We're going to have Corey Sandhagen, a winner of these guys, probably going to fight, Sterling. So I want to talk about Piontyan real quick. This guy's got durability. We've seen this before, especially with that fight against Sterling. He was taking a lot of damage, so much damage. I usually don't like it when fighters take that strategy, when they just kind of act like a sponge and absorb all this punishment, because that's kind of what he was doing. Sterling had a lot of output Jan's last fight. Sterling was basically winning the fight, but sure enough, he didn't finish him. So guess what happened in that 3rd round or so? It was a 5-round fight, but as the longer the fight went on, Sterling started slowing down because he put too much of a higher output, too much of a higher volume, striking volume in the beginning. So when he started slowing down, then Jan started coming back up, sneaking back up, scoring points and all crazy. So we know that he's good, he's durable. Like I said, I don't like it sometimes when they do that, but we know that he can take a punch. Sometimes, and I guess that strategy might work for Jan, but maybe he'll see if he changes it up for this one. But Jan also has fast hands, and he does a good job at connecting when he wants to. I mean, he's got fast, he's got great combinations, and Jan is disciplined. He's so disciplined like no other. His training is tough, and Jan, he has a great chin at the moment, hence the durability. They are tough in Russia, no doubt. They train them different over there. His opponent, Corey Sandhagen, this guy has a lot of lateral movement, comes in at angles, never really predictable. He's always doing something crazy. He has good footwork, good mobility. He's never standing still. He tries to really outwit you while trying to get his opponent's rhythm and timing. You know, he just knows how to move. Sandhagen knows how to get into the fight. He displays a very unique form when he's delivering his offense. I mean, like I said, he won't just come straight. He likes to pick his fights, come at angles. We call that technical striking. Sandhagen finds a way to deliver these strikes with precision. Sandhagen, he also is a great counterpuncher. Should Jan try to press forward, Corey will attempt to keep him at bay with those counters while scoring points at the same time. You know, this fight is going to be one that you don't want to miss. You know, I don't see either one of these guys quitting. You know, we're going to see who decides to lead and push the pace on this one, because Corey Sandhagen has a lot of bag of tricks, and Jan is fast and tough. And Corey's fast, and they're all fast, and they're really great. Yeah, Jan's strong, fast. Corey, he's just unpredictable. Corey, I think that this is going to be a good one. You know, Corey's got jumping knees. He doesn't just limit himself to strikes and kicks. You know, Corey, he'll jump in the air. Corey Sandhagen, you know, so Jan's gonna have a tough fight for him, and Sandhagen's gonna have a tough fight too. So this is gonna be a great one.
Sounds like a good co-main event. And then we have the main event of 267, right?
Yeah, that one's gonna be good talking. You know, with the main event, we gotta get excited for this one, because this one's the reason why we are here. This one's gonna be amazing. Championship light heavyweight fight. Blachowicz, BJ Blachowicz fighting for the belt here. Glover Teixeira, basically the contender now, fighting for it. I think if he's probably number one, if he's not. We're gonna start with BJ first. Have a lot of things to say about this one, so I'll try to kind of, you know, say this, but in a way that people, you know, can understand. So BJ is going to be our lightweight heavyweight champion from now. He's from Poland. He fought for the title last year. He defeated Dominic Reyes via a round two. He defeated him by a TKO in round two, and he also defended his title against the current middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. So I mean, the story for that one was John Jones vacated the light heavyweight title, so then they had Blachowicz and Reyes fight for it. So then we all know that, you know, Blachowicz ended up winning that fight. So he went on to defend it against Israel. Now this is going to be his second title defense. And, you know, he's been in the UFC since 2014, and this is a tremendously skilled, well-built fighter in Blachowicz, you know, because he has an amazing chin. He can take a lot of damage. This guy, he has excellent takedowns. He incorporates his striking with his takedowns and vice versa. So most likely will mix wrestling with strikes, and he has very fast movement. Blachowicz is really looking like he has the potential to reign for a long time, because he's so crafty, and his past experiences definitely show when he's fighting. You know, BJ, he's just a very, very smart fighter. He will make adjustments mid-fight, and he'll figure out how to throw his opponents off and throw their game plan off and implement his own game plan. BJ, he's a wrestler and he's a striker, so he will be ready for anything during the fight. And BJ, he doesn't overlook anyone or count anyone out. He knows of the power that Glover Teixeira has. So, I mean, he'll be ready for it for sure. Now, talking about Glover Teixeira, this is going to be crazy, because this guy, he's 41 years old, still fighting. He's been in the UFC since 2012. And to call this man a veteran, I would say probably maybe understatement. This man is already a legend. You know, he's already done so much for the company. He's already accomplished so much in here. This man has already, at 41 years of age, already had a successful UFC career, what many people would call a successful UFC career. With that being said, this guy, has been around. He has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Teixeira, I think that he prefers to stand. He does have the black belt. He can take it to the ground. Should the fight go on the ground, I don't think he'll have a problem going there. He does have a lot of submission wins. He knows what he has to do because he is in the twilight of his career now, but he's very well-rounded. So what I'm saying is he predominantly would probably like to stand, but if the fight should go to the ground, he would probably be okay. Glover, he beat Anthony Smith. He beat Thiago Santos for this title opportunity, and those people that I just named, those are not to be taken lightly either. Those dudes are killers. Those dudes are monsters. Those dudes are great. And so he has wins over these guys to get here. So it just goes to show all the blood, sweat, and tears this guy put in this. And not only, but just look at his career and everything that he's done. Now, Blachowicz will most likely at some point try to get the fight on the ground. So Glover knows enough about the wrestling ability of BJ, especially, they're going to be watching the tape from his last fight. They're going to be over there, trying to set up their own game plan. And, Glover, though, even though he has a ton of experience and he has a black belt in jiu-jitsu, he's definitely gonna want to strike with him and try to maybe score points that way and really see if he can implement his will on BJ. And I think this is going to be a great fight because I know Glover has so much, even though he's done so much, I know he's still wanting to prove, hey, look, a 40-year-old one can totally do this, and this is going to be great. And a lot of people probably look down, BJ's probably could be the favorite, maybe, but I mean, you can't count Glover Teixeira out, especially in a force like this, because they say, the last thing to go is the power. Maybe the chin might go or the speed might go, but he's still going to have the power. So BJ does, like I said before, BJ doesn't take anybody lightly. He doesn't think lowly of anybody. He says, hey, this guy, he knows. So BJ's going to know what he's up against too. But with that being said, I do feel like BJ's going to want to take the control, take the aggression, do it first. And I see him going down the middle very first and more Teixeira on the counter. Maybe when BJ has maybe touched him up a little bit, maybe he's landed a couple of shots, scored some points, he might try to go low for a takedown. BJ does a really good job at mixing his strikes and his takedowns, as we saw with his fight with Adesanya. When BJ was doing takedowns, he wasn't really just takedown. And when he was throwing, he wasn't really just throwing. He was mixing and incorporating these things in each other. And he was mixing his strikes with his takedowns with his strikes. And it was just beautiful to watch it do that strategy and that technique successfully. But with Glover Teixeira, we're going to see how his takedown defense is, because I do believe that if BJ doesn't have success, or I would say too much success on the feet, then he would probably try to shoot first or try to shoot then. But I don't think he'll shoot first. Maybe I don't see him shooting in the first one round, maybe not even in the first round. It's a 5-round fight. Why he knows that, hey, I'm not going to try to drag this guy down. What if it's the first, in the first fight, they're not sweaty. They have a lot of grip. But if the guy has good takedown defense, you waste a lot of energy really trying to get a hold of their hips, getting control of their hips, trying to avoid underhooks, trying to get past wizards. It takes a lot of energy to really even get the guy down. So when you get the guy down, then it's a whole nother game. Then it's a whole, okay, well then where do I go next? I got to look for submissions, arm bars, triangles, or whatever. And so with BJ, I think that he'll probably keep it on the feet first, kind of let Glover work himself. I don't think BJ is a risky fighter at all. I think he'll try to match Glover's pace, but then match his pace just enough to where he can win. I do see him maybe trying to be more aggressive at first. So maybe he'll try to hit first. Maybe he'll try to impose his will first, but I see this one being really good. And if they do go to the ground, remember Glover has got that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu belt, and BJ is a wrestler. So he don't really do like the Jiu-Jitsu stuff, but if he wants to get somebody down, he will. And Jiu-Jitsu guys have almost basically a complete different takedown. So if they do go to the ground, I'm interested to see this, because these are two different takedown grappling styles. We got the grappling style of a wrestler and a grappling style of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm kind of interested to see who's gonna get taken down. Glover might surprise us and say, let me take him down. Everybody thinks I'm gonna stand. Everybody knows I'm gonna stand. Every time you watch Glover, he likes to stand. Maybe he might change it up and say, you know what, I'm gonna take him down now, but I don't think so. I think he's gonna stand. But if BJ tries to implement that wrestling, tries to use that wrestling, Glover's gonna be on the lookout, with that Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. So this fight is full of fireworks. I'm done.
Well, the main event sounds real good, and I am an ESPN Plus subscriber, so I'll be able to watch it, free or because I'm a subscriber. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm planning on watching it because of course we got to come back on Wednesday, the following Wednesday, and break these fights down, right? And then I just want to let people know also that next Wednesday will be the final time that we'll be able to talk about this fight, these guys, these main event fights, because then of course that following Saturday of that Wednesday, the fight takes place. So, we've got one more week, which is next Wednesday, to break this down, to update anything that's going on between now and then and before the fight. And then not to forget, Val, that we have to make our picks on that Wednesday too. So our next time that we'll be on the GT Sports for episode number 2, as we talk about these fights and give up any updates before the main event on that Saturday. We have to make our picks on these 6 fights. So that's something else for people to look forward to. You and I will make our picks. And then, of course, that Thursday morning, on the GT Sports U, because it's the GT Sports Unlimited. The GT Sports is the company name, but the GT Sports Unlimited is where you can catch the podcast or you can go to GT Sports YouTube channel. But that's where, and you'll catch the polls there that we'll put up on not tomorrow, not next Thursday, a week from today. We'll also, so that the fans and the followers of the GT Sports, you can also, vote and see who they want. So that's exciting. But you and I definitely next Thursday or next Wednesday will be making our picks to see who we think is going to win that fight. So that's good. That's something we can look forward to. And I'm definitely looking forward to that main event to see who's going to win. It's going to be exciting to watch. The fights the main events, the pay-per-views are always exciting when it comes to UFC. Any other news? Is that it with as far as the 267, UFC 267?
Yeah, I mean the fight's gonna have prelims and stuff, but as far as the main card, that's gonna be it. Like I said before, there's usually fights, but 5, but this one is 6. So
okay,
and we're in for a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be there watching all of them. So let's turn things over to any news on any of the other fights. I mean, we've got Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, Amanda Nunes. I know you and I were talking about her, what's going on with her in Pena, if there's been any updates. So do you have anything else as far as these other fighters? What are they doing? I mean, I'm interested in Dustin Poirier. What's going on with him? When are we going to see him back in the octagon?
Yeah, we're gonna see him. He's gonna be fighting Charles Oliveira for the lightweight, heavyweight title. And it's gonna be awesome, man, because these guys, they're fast. We've seen what Dustin can do. We know how durable he is. We know how tough he is. We know what Oliveira can do. See, Oliveira might not look like much. If you look at the guy, he's kind of thin, doesn't really have too much muscle. You're just kind of like, But, man, this guy has us all fooled, because if you see this man perform, he will shock everybody. I mean, I've seen this kid go up against dudes I thought were going to oh, man, this guy's probably going to one hit and he blow away. Nah. Charles Oliveira has very good. I've seen him beat guys. I've seen him TKO guys, and this kid can do it all. I mean, this kid can submit. He has good jiu-jitsu. He has good grappling. He has good ground game. This kid can do it all. And so don't let his size. You look at him. Don't let his size, his presence fool you, because that's gonna be crazy.
Has that fight already been signed?
I do believe that it has. I do believe that it has been signed.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I believe that's going to take place. I think it's going to take place this year, December 11th, the same time Nunes should be fighting Pena. Pena and Nunes are going to be fighting. They're going to be on the same card, December 11th.
Okay, so let's talk about Nunes. What's been going on with her or Pena? What have they been up to? I know the last time we talked, I said that, I didn't think Pena. I mean, I like Pena. I do. I've seen some of her fights, and I think she's really good. I don't think she's still yet, in my opinion, in that Amanda Nunes category. Not yet. They were supposed to fight, and of course it got canceled. So this is still going to be the first time that these two are going to meet. But I think, and I said it early on in the podcast the last time, I think this is going to be good for Pena because she gets to kind of feel the power. If she loses, right? If she wins, this is great for Pena. She's able to take down Amanda Nunes because no one else has been able to do it. Amanda has been on a roll, but if Pena loses, I don't think it's a big loss for her because I think you're going to see these guys. There's going to be another fight between these two, no matter who wins and who loses, I think. And I think for for Pena, I think for her, she's got to get close. She's got to feel that power. You can see a lot through fights, but until you're actually in the octagon with Amanda Nunes, you'll be able to see what you did wrong. Okay, and then your next fight, I think, gives you an advantage. Of course, Amanda. I mean, she's the toughest. She's the baddest woman around right now, in my opinion, right? But I think I think Pena's got an opportunity to take it. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that anything is possible, especially in this type of sport, especially in this type of fight game. Any scenario you think of, it's probably been done before and will happen. I think Pena, with that being said, yes, I do. I do believe that Pena has a chance. I do believe that she's a good striker. I know that she's got a TKO win. I know that she's got decision. I know that she can pace herself. This is like a test unlike any before. She... Pena, she did have a win over a former UFC champion before. So and Kat Zingano. So I do believe that, yes, if she just finds that perfect shot, if she finds that perfect leg kick, if she just can maybe find that perfect takedown and maybe keep positional dominance and try to stay there. But we're talking about Amanda Nunes here. So it's hard for me to really say all these things. I do believe that Pena has a shot ultimately. So yes, for sure. Amanda Nunes has just really been on such a really big win streak lately. I mean, I think she's on like a 12 fight win streak or something like that. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's crazy.
I don't think that Pena, in my opinion, I don't think Pena will beat Nunes in the first fight. I don't think so. Of course, you never know. I just don't think so. But she's impressive. I've seen her in her fights. But I think if she loses for fight number 2, which I think there will be a fight number 2 between these two somewhere down the road, I think she'll have a better advantage than in fight 1 because I think she's smart. And you've got to be a smart fighter against Amanda Nunes. So I think when she feels that power, whatever it is, because when you're in a fight with someone, you get an advantage. You feel the power. Okay, I know next time, what I got to do. You can only get so much when you see her. If you're out there like a fan or you're watching her fight, it's not the same as when you're in the octagon with somebody and you feel it. So I think if Pena loses, which I think she will in this one, I want to see how competitive she is. But I think if it's close, if she can, get some spots here and there on Amanda for that second fight, which I think there will be one. I think it'll be good. So I want to see this fight. I mean, she's Amanda. She's the baddest woman, like I said, in my opinion. So I don't see her losing, but I think it is somebody that she's going to have to kind of, contend with because I don't think Pena is going to go away anytime soon. Now, she's not as big as Amanda. She's kind of small to me, but she's real smart in the octagon. I've seen her. So I think she'll have an advantage. She'll come back for fight number 2, but you got to get in there, fight 1 and see what happens. I mean, if you take the loss, you take the loss, but you got to go in there, find out the power, find out what she's all about, and then you strategize for that fight number 2. And maybe she gets a better advantage in that second fight that will give her an opening and maybe upset Amanda Nunes. I mean, I don't know, but it's going to be a very interesting fight. It's one that I'm looking forward to. I was kind of down when it didn't take place, but now that there's more time, I don't know if that gives Pena any type of an advantage. I don't think it does much because she hasn't been in the octagon with her, but I want to see this fight. And if it's going to be on the same card with Poirier, that's going to be even better. Now let's switch over to Conor McGregor. What's he been up to? I read something today, I think, or yesterday about an assault. What do you have on McGregor? And what's he doing these days? And when is he going to get back in the octagon, or is he going to? And if he does, any idea who he might be fighting next?
Yeah, right now there's no way to know for sure who he will fight. There's rumors saying that he might fight Nick Diaz, again, because that's a good fight to go to for the trilogy fight. So a lot of people are thinking him. I think as far as a big money maker, if they're trying to make quick money, fast money, I'm not saying like they're hurting for money or nothing, but if they're trying to put on a good fight with Conor, I mean, that trilogy is something to dabble into. So probably Diaz, but other than that, that's really all I've heard for him. But he has been gotten into some legal trouble lately. Conor, he's just such a big star. I really do think that maybe stuff, but I didn't believe it before because I was such a big fan. Sometimes when you like somebody and you want to follow somebody and you're inspired by somebody, sometimes you don't see red flags, right? We all know this. And so that's kind of how I'm kind of getting like that with Conor now, because, I really like this guy and I want to say good things about this guy, but his actions just speak otherwise. And it's getting hard for people to say positive things and say good things about this guy, just because his antics are so crazy. Whether you call it a show, whether you call it a character, it's becoming who he is now, because it almost seems like every week or so he's like up in the headlines. But like, with that being said, I'm a big fan of Conor. I love Conor, but he is supposed to fight, I think, in 2022. So nothing's set in stone, but from what I've heard, 2022 he'll be back in there with somebody.
You know what about I like McGregor. I'm always going to be a McGregor fan, but I don't think he'll ever be Poirier again. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Poirier's got his number, and I know we talked the last time. I thought, well, he could have came back, but looking back at it, I just because I don't think that Poirier's got his number, and Poirier's just climbing, and we'll see what he does in his December fight, right? In this title shot. But man, I mean, he's just moving up, and like you said, Conor's just getting into these legal battles that I think when a fighter, an athlete of any kind, a football, basketball, boxing, UFC, I think when these guys have these legal battles, I think for a lot of them it affects their performance.
Yeah, for sure.
And Conor, as good as he is, I don't think it's the same Conor that we first saw years ago in the octagon a few years back. And you can tell by his performance, it's real. Dustin didn't even fear him anymore, really. Mm-hmm. And Dustin has no fear. He doesn't get into the octagon, before he'd be all this Conor McGregor, And there was a mental part, I think, to the mind of the fighters, man. This guy's he's the baddest dude. People don't, at least I don't think Dustin Poirier fears him anymore. Getting into the ring, it's the trying to get into Dustin's head that doesn't do anything for him. And I think Dustin feels confident that I got his number and I can whip him. And to me, that's why I think Conor is having a hard time with Dustin in these two fights. And who knows? It's hard to say that he was going to lose. It was early on. I saw Conor take those hits, but he was getting hit. But I'm not going to say he would have lost, because it's hard to say that because the fight didn't go to the end. But I do think that Dustin has his number. I do. And if these guys fight, 2-3 years down the road, I don't know if Conor can beat Dustin anymore. We'll see where Dustin goes from here, right? And that's hard for me to say because I'm a big time Conor. I love Conor McGregor. But me too, when I hear the legal issues, it's upsetting to me, because I want this guy just to focus on fighting, come back and be the fighter that he once was. And with all of this stuff and he's become a character ever since this fight. I think with boxing made all that money, changed him, in my opinion. That's not true. That's just my opinion. He's not the same guy. He's not hungry. He hasn't been hungry in a while, in my opinion. And I think that you might be able to beat a Diaz, you might be able to beat an average guy or a guy that no longer is on top of his game. Or Conor could probably take those guys. But I'm talking about Conor McGregor fighting the elite fighters in the UFC.
Elite somebody now, yeah.
These guys that are at the top of their game, I don't think he's there anymore. And I don't know, if he'll ever get back there again. I don't know. I'm not going to say he won't. Conor can throw some blows. I mean, he was I mean, he's good. But I just think that what's going on now, what we hear more, and all of these legal battle, all these legal stuff that he's getting himself into, I think it's going to hurt his performance. And these guys like Dustin Poirier, man, they're moving on to bigger and better things. So if they do fight somewhere down the road again, I'm not so sure that Conor can beat Dustin out. He may maybe eat my words. I would hope that Conor would win. I think Dustin's a great fighter too, and I think I don't even think he's at his prime, Val. But when I come on this podcast, I got to be realistic, and my gut tells me that with what I'm seeing with Conor and what I'm seeing with Dustin, man, Dustin's he's firm, man. He's getting better. Yeah, and Conor, I think, is fading. But of course, Conor's got those fans that are going to stick with him no matter what, win or lose. He's got the fan base. And I think that could be part of the problem. I don't know. I just like to see this guy go back and be elite. But right now, I don't know if he'll ever get back to that status. I just don't know. Anything else that we've got as far as news of any other UFC fighters before we call it a night?
Well, I mean, I could just probably throw out Costa and Vittori, just very briefly. They're gonna fight this upcoming Saturday. These guys are pretty much on definitely on the top 5 of the middleweight rankings, and we know Vittori just lost to Adesanya, and funny enough, Costa just lost to Adesanya too. Costa was supposed to fight. Costa lost to Adesanya about a year ago. That he was supposed to come and fight maybe this year, but he was supposed to fight Jared Cannonier. It's like a French name, Cannonier, and they said that he didn't want to fight, something about money, and he was saying, "Oh, they're not paying me enough," or something like that. And he said, for whatever reason, he said, "Look, I'm not gonna fight him." So now they're giving him a fight again. I actually think UFC's being good to Costa, because if he's acting like that, saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna take the fight with it," if you don't take the fight, then at the end of the day, you're not taking the fight. We're going to give it on to somebody, or, give somebody else opportunity. So the fact that Costa is fighting Vittori, who is literally just coming off of Adesanya, if Costa can beat Vittori in a devastating fashion, this is a really quick, easy way for him to just kind of almost maybe fight Adesanya again. And he basically got worn out in the second round. He got pieced apart by Adesanya. Adesanya totally ran the show on Costa, and Adesanya pretty much ran the show on Vittori too. Vittori would probably, of course, think otherwise, but I just don't think that Vittori had the wrestling skills to really take Adesanya down and keep him there, because the story of that fight was Vittori attempting grappling, attempting wrestling, attempting to get him to the ground and ground him out and ground and pound or submit. But Adesanya just kept, he had good takedown defense, or he'd get back up, and basically spent zero time on the mat almost. And now Costa, his fight with Adesanya, it went horrible. Vittori went a little bit better, but with Costa, there was a lot of hype around him. They were building him up, and they were saying all these great things. And if you see his highlight reels, he backed it up. He was punching people, and he was touching people, and it almost looked like he was tapping people, and they would fall over dead weight. Like, this is how powerful Costa is. So whenever he fought Adesanya, it was just not Costa. It wasn't Costa. He was just more like hesitant, and maybe the side, whenever he got sized up by Adesanya, maybe he was intimidated because or something. I don't know if it was the lights that day or what was going on. And Costa had all these excuses to talk about, and it's so funny to talk about. He kept saying it was after the Adesanya fight. He said, "You know what?" He said, "It was because I drank a lot of wine. That's why." And then like a month passes, and then he goes, "You know what? My leg, man, was messed up, man." And then almost a year later, he says, "Man, you know what? I didn't get enough sleep. I didn't sleep at all the day before." It's just coming up. It's like, man, we don't want to hear the excuses. We want to see you do great. We want to see you train. We want to hear that you're going to train harder. We want to hear that you're going to build up, rebuild, and come back for the win. So I feel, with all that being said, I feel like Costa probably didn't really deserve to be fighting this type of spot. Because I do believe with Vittori just coming right off of Adesanya, if Costa can win dominantly, the possibility of him fighting Adesanya is very high. is what I'm saying. Possibly again for the title. So even with him doing all these crazy things, I feel like he's lucky right now. So Costa should seize this opportunity and try to make the most of it. And Vittori has to look at it the same way. Hey, I just lost to Adesanya, but if I can beat this guy in a dominant fashion, then this guy's basically the next dude. Like both of these guys are the next guy in line. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? So if any of these guys can win, their chances of fighting for the title are high. Whoever wins. So who are the stakes for this fight this coming weekend? Or I would say pretty high because both these gentlemen are high on the middleweight rankings. So
well, that's awesome, Val. And of course, like I said, we'll be back next Wednesday. To talk more about UFC 267. Of course, in the main event, if there's any updates to give, if there's any news to talk about, Val will come back and he'll keep us updated on what's going on because after next Wednesday, of course, that following Saturday is the main event. 267 takes place, UFC 267. So don't forget that next Wednesday we'll be on. We'll be on early at 5, and that's a scheduled time. And then, of course, that gives us plenty of time. So it'll be uploaded late that night, the video, the podcast. You go to GT Sports YouTube channel, but then I share it over to the GT Sports Unlimited Twitter and Facebook. So you can catch it. If you like what we're doing here at UFC, this is episode number 1 with many episodes to follow. Become a subscriber. Or share this, please share this video with some of your friends that you know that may love UFC and love talking. We'd like to hear from you guys. You can comment on our video, and let us know what you think. And like I said, we want to hear from you. We're going to be putting up polls too on our pages. But next week, Val and I, we will be making our predictions on who we think will win. And of course, the following Wednesday after the fight, we can kind of look at it and see how well we did. So you guys can also participate by, going to our GT Sports which is GT Sports Unlimited, Facebook and Twitter page. The polls will be up on both in case you have Twitter but not Facebook or the other way around. But don't worry about it. We put them on both. And then you can actually place your vote there to let us know who you think will win the fight. So we're going to be doing this consistently. So Val, man, I want to thank you for taking some time out and coming out here, man. I mean, just your breakdown is awesome. The way that, I know you have to do a lot of research to be able to come on for an hour and talk about 6 fights and, and you do an awesome job. And I'm just glad to have you as part of the GT Sports Unlimited crew of the UFC, something that we continue to try to build. I get pretty busy. I've got other podcasts, but just they're all important to me. And so, as much as I work on this, and sometimes I'll get a few hours of sleep, and I love what I'm doing. And I just thank the good Lord that He's given me this opportunity to come in and talk about something that I do regardless all day anyway, which is sports. So thank you for coming on, Val, man. I appreciate it. I'll give you the last word. Anything you want to add before we call it a night?
No, just everybody. I hope y'all like it, and keep watching the fights, keep staying in tune. We'll be talking about the news. We'll be talking about all the crazy scenarios that these fighters get themselves into, maybe outside of the octagon as well as in the octagon. So yeah, it's all in good fun, and we're ready to take this next level, man. Next level.
And that's the thing, man, the fight and the drama that leads up to it, there's always something going on, so it's great. And we've got to stay on top of it. So Val, thank you very much, man. Have a good night. We'll definitely be seeing you next Wednesday at 5:00. Like I said, we'll be making our predictions on the UFC 267 next Wednesday. And Val will keep us updated on anything else, any updates on UFC 267. And of course, any of the other fighters that maybe there's breaking news, injuries, or just drama that we can talk about. But we'll see you guys back here at GT Sports Unlimited with UFC Talk next Wednesday for episode number 2. Until then, Val, thanks for coming on, man, and sharing what you know about UFC on the podcast, man. And I will see you next Wednesday at 5:00, brother.
For sure.